Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to do another trade recap. This is of last night's price action. So this was for Monday. This was during London session and we caught about 17R. It was about 16.5. This was a pretty clean trade. We used the 15-minute time frame for execution. So this was only using the 4-hour and the 15. We didn't need to go any lower than this. It was a very clean textbook style entry. This was posted into the Discord, so sometimes I have requests of people who want to see what my end of the day markups look like or what the trades are like that I start taking. So I just recently made this category on here. So end of the day markups, here you can go ahead and see the same setup that I'm going to go over in this video. And so let's get into it, right? So first things first, I'm starting on the 4-hour. So this is kind of what I was seeing. We have this high, and what we basically had is a sweep of this previous high, and I do have some notes on here. So I saw no breaking close on the 4-hour above here, so price is not fully bullish at this point. In that terms, what I'm considering is that this area is basically weak. While this area was responsible for a break of lots of 4-hour highs, we did just sweep the external liquidity range or range liquidity, and so because this failed to make a new high or break and close to make a new external high, basically what I'm expecting is this area probably is going to go. So we had the first reaction to this area, and so what I'm doing is I'm looking up a little bit higher, and I can see that this is the supply, and it's a pretty clean one, a 4-hour point of interest that pushed price into this demand. So in terms of, what's in control at this point, first, supply is in control. And you can see that the supply was not able to take out this demand zone. It gave the first mitigation of this area, somewhat mitigated the top of it. Now, if we look at this candle from up here to down here, this came into just below the 50% or so of the range. But we are in this wick, right? And so the reaction that we got from this wick is basically a weak demand. We pushed price back into supply. Supply is back in control. You can see that supply was holding. And so my expectation is that I thought and I believed that this area more than likely is going to go. So I was potentially looking for some shorts to take out this area. And, if we look at the same setup more cleaned up, this is exactly what it looks like, right? So we have a lot of noise here. Both of these were sweeps of the previous high. This area is what's responsible for the push into this 4-hour demand, right? We did get a reaction out of it. Supply was in control. At this point, we have both a weak low and we have a weak high, right? And so what I was trading off of the price action that occurred right in here. So that was on the 15-minute. We're going to go on the 15-minute. I'm going to show you what I was looking at. So here we are. This is what the 15-minute time frame looks like. If I add into this chart what I was seeing and I add my 15-minute callouts here, we might hold that for a little bit more. So basically what I saw is this was the first point that we came to mitigate the 4 hours. So this is the 4-hour point of interest. And what I did is I took this 4-hour that pushed price higher. So this was another 4-hour demand, and I refined it to a 15-minute point of interest. So my expectation truly was the price is bearish, and more than likely I wanted to see this demand go. But at the same time, my bias and my expectations do not cloud my judgment. I trade based off of reactions. And so when I saw that this 15-minute extreme was holding, I was waiting to see what would be a likely scenario for this point of interest. And so we can see that the most recent swing, we did tap into the supply a couple times. We have 1, 2, and 3 taps. You can see that this low to this high, and this high breaks this internal structure on this range and creates this low, right? So price is bearish on this swing low. So technically this is considered a strong high, right? And so supply is potentially stronger. But as a reaction to this 15-minute, I saw a change of character. And so that's how I got my entry last night. So let's go over this price action a little bit more clearly, and you can see kind of what I was looking at. So we have the strong high above, we have the break of structure. There's many points that contributed to this break of structure. More than likely, the area that caused the break of structure would be these 2 points here. This looks like it reacted to the left, to this extreme. So this was a sell to buy. This was an engulfing candle to the upside. And it looks like this area tapped into that demand, swept some liquidity here inside, and then broke structure to the downside. So this was technically considered a strong supply. But at the same time, I did believe that we might come a little bit higher for another mitigation. So what I was expecting was price is bearish, and if we do get a change of character at this 15-minute, on the 15-minute time frame, then I would like to take price long just so that it can come back to mitigate a supply zone that, let's say, would be in premium territory to get a continuation to the downside. And so here you can kind of see what I was looking at. This area here served as some liquidity for the taking, just below the POI. So let's mark that out, liquidity on the bottom. Here we have this high, and this is the swing high to the swing low. This was one big push to the downside, very clean. Here you can see that this reaction with this wick came almost to the equilibrium. It was pretty close, deeper mitigation into this POI rather than just a top. So we liquidated, we mitigated. Here we have what looks like it could be an aggressive reaction on a lower time frame. This wick really pushed price higher, so we have some buy orders stacking into here. Now, this could serve as a potential mini pullback just into the supply here, or it could fuel a potential change of character and a temporary reversal. And so what I saw here is this is technically the extreme. Technically, it's unmitigated. Price pushes higher. Here you can kind of see that we did wick above this little zone here, but this area was not the interest as the low went from up here. So this high broke this low. This is one big swing for me, is how I classified it. What I did see is in this area, we do have this candle here that swept. So this did sweep one candle in here, this sell to buy right in between these two candles. It's a little pivot in there. And what this did to me is it basically showed me that it came to mitigate this area right here, which is this last candle that does technically get engulfed. So in my eyes, this sweep could be very valid. Now this basically more buy orders are stacking in the sweep, pushing price higher. You can see it taps into this 15-minute supply. So what do we get out of here? I was expecting some sort of reaction. So the supply technically is respected. We get a aggressive sell that takes out this liquidity right here. And then what do we have? A push back up that looks like it's engulfing. It does engulf the previous sell candle. And then we get what? A violation, a wick above the supply. So in my eyes, this area, this is basically a flip. And so I could see that basically what happened here was that we got a reaction to supply. So interaction between buyers and sellers. We did get a reaction. While this maybe swept some supply in, or some liquidity in here, to me it really wasn't as valid. I saw this as potential inducement for this point of interest. And so my thought process was I wanted to get an entry from this point of interest. Now it was a pretty big point of interest. For example, if we take the entire candle itself, it's about 7 pips. For me, I was like believing that I could narrow it down. I see that the wick is about 5 pips or so. And what I did, let me show you my entry here. I took the 50% of the wick and I entered at the equilibrium of the wick. And I believe that we were going to get another deeper mitigation of this little point of interest, which here we did react to that. So we mitigated it here below the 50%. We did get a reaction that did take this high, right? And so for me, I saw this as being inducement. So I had liquidation of these lows, mitigation of a point of interest, price is pushing up. This sweep is my point of interest. We get a tap of a supply. We get a reaction to supply. Doesn't really take the liquidity that I'm looking for. And then we invalidate or we violate the supply zone. We get a change of character because this low, this high makes a new low. And we've just wicked above it with this candle wick here. So you can see that this gave me a change of character. And I was looking for an entry at the equilibrium right here. I covered the lows. Had I just set my stop loss to, let's say, to that wick right here, to the wick bottom with a 2.7 pip stop, I would have been stopped on that trade and that would not have been good. Thankfully, I did give some space, and I had a 4 pip stop loss on a 15-minute entry, which isn't too bad, right? Entering at the equilibrium, we did tap, and you can see that price very aggressively pushed higher. Now I had a couple targets in mind, and so first things first that I wanted to show you is I took what is the premium and discount of this entire swing. So we have this high to this low, and so here I used this tool. So from the high to the low, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to darken it just so that I can make sure that you're able to see it, or maybe I'll put some big lines on here. So 3 points. I prefer to take my entries, or my targets would be set above the 70% or at the 70%. Technically, while these point of interests are strong and did contribute to break of structure to the downside, they're not really in the premium territory that I was looking to take price. And so all I did was I was monitoring these areas for reactions to see what would happen. So once I'm entered here with a 4 pip stop loss, price was very aggressive, broke this first high, right? And this is on the 15 minutes. So at my point, this is already set at break even once we take out this high. So price is at break even. If price comes back to this level, we're basically done, right? Now, what happens here is we come in, tap this supply, price gives a little pullback. We have a sweep, a little wick here. This sweeps something on the lower time frame, but on the 15-minute, we get no change of character. Now, mind you, remember that we're coming from a 4-hour supply to a weak 4-hour demand, but we do get a 15-minute change of character. So for me, there's no reason to get out of my trade unless I see a 15-minute change of character bearish or my target is reached, right? So here, I get a reaction, but no change of character, so we're good. Price continues higher to this supply. This is another sweep that broke structure and got engulfed. We get a reaction here, but to me, no true change of character. This was the low that I was looking to go if we get a change of character. That was a reaction, so this could just be like technically like another entry at this reaction point. We continued to the upside, so we took out 1 level, 2 levels, so we're good. My target, this area was a little bit messy, and I didn't want to have to go to the lower time frames. This was more of a lazy kind of trade. So all I did was I targeted the 50% of this entire range. So I took the high, which was this candle right here, the wick right here. And then I took the low. You can see that's right here. And for me, what I was expecting, and most of the times when I see ranges like this that do, let's say, have a sell to buy engulfing, or sorry, this was a buy to sell engulfing, while many people may have targeted this area, considering the amount of noise that was here and the thought that possibly price could come back into this point of interest, I felt it safe just to target the 50% equilibrium. Now you can see that it did run a little bit more than that. It ran to top, maybe like the top, I don't know, 80% of that range. Would have been 17.7, but I was comfortable taking profit at the EQ of the range, and that leaves us with about 16.5 R with a 4 pip stop loss. This was a pretty relatively quick trade in my opinion. I was sleeping during this trade, so I hit my take profit. So here you can see 3 hours and 30 minutes, and you have 16.5 R. So that was a pretty clean trade. So hopefully this trade recap gives you an idea of the way that I trade, what I'm looking for. This is probably one of my shorter videos in the fact and for the reason that we didn't really have to drop down many time frames. So lately what I've noticed is when price is getting a little bit messy, I like to stick a little bit to the higher time frames. This was a really more of a set it and forget it kind of trade. I felt very confident once I saw the first couple reactions here. So I just went to bed and I let it hit my TP. So this was a pretty good run. Let me know if you have any questions. If you want to see more end of the day markups or more trades that I'm taking, you can go ahead and see in my Discord. The link is in the description. It's free forever. I have free coaching stuff and lots of cheat sheets and stuff that you can go ahead and look at. So let me know if you have questions and enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you have a good trading week. See you next time.